Jake Morrison checked his watch. The sun hadn't cleared the Nevada mountains yet, and the desert air still held yesterday's chill. He stood in the Security Operations Center at Hawthorne Defense Research Facility, watching 16 monitors display real-time feeds from every corner of the compound. 3 years since he'd left the teams. 3 years since Kandahar. Since the ambush that had killed 2 of his men and shattered his right knee. The surgeons had rebuilt it with titanium and determination, but the Navy had other plans. Medical discharge, honorable, final. Head of security at Hawthorne wasn't the life he'd imagined at 36, but it beat a desk job in Virginia. "Coffee's ready, boss." Amy Chen, his deputy, set a mug on the console. Former Army intelligence, sharp as they came. Quiet night, just the usual patrol logs. Jake nodded. Any updates on the AI systems test? Still scheduled for Thursday. Pentagon sending observers. Big deal, apparently. It was a big deal. Hawthorne specialized in autonomous weapons systems, drones with decision-making capabilities that could revolutionize modern warfare. Or end it, depending on who you asked. The new ARES platform combined artificial intelligence with real-time battlefield analysis. The kind of technology that made America's adversaries nervous. The kind of technology worth stealing. "Run another background sweep on all personnel with Building 7 access," Jake said. "I want updated clearance verifications by noon." Amy raised an eyebrow. Paranoid? Thorough. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered anyway. "Is this Jake Morrison?" A woman's voice. Young. Scared. "Who's asking?" "My name is Dr. Sarah Vance. I'm a computer scientist at Hawthorne. I need to meet with you immediately. Alone. It's about a security breach." Jake's pulse quickened. "What kind of breach?" "Not over the phone. There's a diner on Route 95, 10 miles south. Murphy's. Can you be there in 30 minutes? "I can be there in 20. How do I know this isn't?" The line went dead. Jake stared at his phone. Sarah Vance. He pulled up the personnel database. PhD from MIT, hired 8 months ago. Assigned to the ARES development team. Top-level clearance. Clean record. 29 years old. "Amy, I need to run an errand. Keep things tight here." "Want backup?" "Not yet. Keep this between us for now." Murphy's diner was exactly what Jake expected. Peeling paint, flickering neon, 3 pickup trucks in the lot. He arrived in 18 minutes, his Glock 19 comfortable against his hip beneath his jacket. Sarah Vance sat in the last booth, nursing black coffee. Thin, pale, dark circles under her eyes. She wore jeans and a Stanford hoodie, looking more like a grad student than a defense contractor. Jake slid into the seat across from her. "Talk." "Someone stealing our research," she said without preamble. "The ARES algorithms, the core code, everything we've built for the past 2 years. "How do you know?" "I noticed anomalies 3 days ago. Data packets being copied during off hours. Small transfers, nothing that would trigger automatic alerts, but consistent. Systematic." She pulled a flash drive from her pocket. "I documented everything here. Access logs, file transfers, network traffic analysis." Jake didn't touch it. "Why not go through official channels? Your supervisor." "The FBI liaison." "Because I think my supervisor is involved. That changed things." "Dr. Richard Keene," Sarah continued. "He's the ARES project director. He's been acting strange for weeks, taking calls in private, working late alone. 2 nights ago, I stayed late myself. I saw him in the secure lab at 2 a.m., transferring files to an external device." "Did he see you?" "No. I left before he could. But yesterday, he asked me pointed questions about my work schedule, about whether I'd noticed anything unusual in the system logs." She leaned forward. "Mr. Morrison, I'm scared. If Keene knows I'm suspicious, if he thinks I'm a threat, why me? Why not go to the FBI directly? Because I don't know who else might be compromised. But I checked your background. Navy SEAL, decorated combat veteran, clean record. You're the only person I'm certain I can trust." Jake studied her face. Fear was hard to fake. So was genuine conviction. He took the flash drive. "I need to verify this. If what you're saying is true, we have a serious problem. Until then, you act normal." "Go to work." Keep your head down. Don't do anything that might alert Keen. What are you going to do? My job. Back at Hawthorne, Jake locked himself in his office and plugged Sarah's flash drive into an air-gapped laptop. No network connection, no chance of detection. The files were damning. Detailed logs showed repeated unauthorized access to the ARES database over the past 6 weeks. Small data transfers, each carefully timed during system backup windows when monitoring was less stringent. The digital fingerprints led back to Keen's credentials, but that wasn't conclusive. Credentials could be stolen, spoofed, replicated. What caught Jake's attention was the destination. The files weren't being transferred to an external server. They were being copied to a local device, encrypted, and prepared for physical extraction. Someone was planning to walk out of Hawthorne with America's most advanced weapons technology on a hard drive in their pocket. Jake pulled up Keen's file. 53 years old, PhD in computer science from Berkeley, 20 years in defense contracting, divorced twice, financial issues, substantial credit card debt, a mortgage on a house in Reno that was underwater. Financial pressure was the oldest motivation in the book. Jake's phone rang. Amy. Boss. We've got a situation. Building 7. Someone triggered a security alert. What kind of alert? Attempted access to the server room. Wrong credentials. 3 times. System locked them out and flagged it. Who? That's the thing. The attempt came from Dr. Sarah Vance's account. Jake's blood went cold. Where is she now? Not in the building. Her badge hasn't been scanned since yesterday. Either Sarah was lying to him, or someone had stolen her credentials. Either way, things were moving faster than he'd anticipated. Lock down Building 7. No one in or out without my authorization. I'm on my way. Jake found Amy in the Building 7 security station, reviewing access logs on 3 different screens. Tell me, he said. The access attempt started 20 minutes ago. Someone using Vance's credentials tried to enter the server room through the emergency access panel. Wrong biometric scan system rejected it. They tried again with different fingerprints. Also rejected. Third attempt triggered the lockdown. Security footage? That's where it gets interesting. Amy pulled up video. Camera covering the emergency access was disabled 5 minutes before the attempt. Loop running. Someone who knows our systems. Inside job. Has to be. Jake's mind raced. Someone was setting Sarah up. The question was why? To discredit her? To make her look like the leak before she could expose the real culprit? Pull every piece of footage from Building 7 for the past week, Jake said. I want to know everyone who's accessed that area. Cross-reference with personnel files, flag anyone with financial problems, foreign contacts, anything suspicious. What about Vance? Find her. Check her apartment, her cell phone, GPS, but quietly. No alerts. Amy's eyes narrowed. Jake, what's going on? He made a decision. Possible espionage attempt. Vance came to me this morning claiming Keen is stealing ARES data. Now someone's using her credentials to break into the server room. Either she's the spy, or she's being framed. Or she's already dead and someone's using her identity. Jake hadn't wanted to consider that possibility. Let's hope not. Start with the surveillance review. I'm going to have a conversation with Dr. Keen. Richard Keen's office was in Building 7's administrative wing, large windows overlooking the desert, walls covered with commendations and photos from defense conferences around the world. The man himself sat behind a glass desk, typing on a laptop, a cup of green tea cooling beside him. Mr. Morrison. Keen looked up, smiled. To what do I owe the pleasure? Routine security check. The ARES demonstration is coming up. Pentagon observers arriving Thursday. I want to make sure we're buttoned up tight. Admirable thoroughness. Keen gestured to a chair. Please, sit. Jake remained standing. I need to verify something. Have you noticed any unusual activity in the lab? Anyone accessing systems at odd hours? Keen's expression didn't change. Define unusual. Unauthorized file transfers. Off-hours access. Anything that doesn't fit standard protocols. Nothing comes to mind. Why? Has something happened? Just checking. Mr. Morrison, I've been doing this work for 2 decades. I run a tight ship. My team is vetted, monitored, and thoroughly professional. If there were a security concern, I would know about it. The confidence was impressive. Almost too impressive. What about Dr. Vance? Any issues with her work? There, a flicker. Brief, but real. Sarah? She's brilliant. Young, sometimes a bit intense, but brilliant. Why do you ask? Her credentials were used to attempt unauthorized server room access 20 minutes ago. Keen's face showed surprise. Perfect surprise. Academy Award surprise. That's impossible. Sarah would never. Where is she now? We're locating her. Mr. Morrison, I can assure you, if Sarah Vance has done something inappropriate, it's not intentional. She's passionate about the work, sometimes too passionate. Perhaps she was trying to access files for legitimate research and didn't follow proper protocols. 3 failed attempts with wrong biometrics? Keen spread his hands. I can't explain that, but I know Sarah. She's not a security threat. Jake studied him. The man was good. Very good. But there was something beneath the surface. A tension. A calculation. I'll need a list of everyone on your team with server room access, Jake said. And I'll need to review your lab's access logs for the past month. Of course. I'll have my assistant prepare everything. Keen smiled. We're all on the same side here, Mr. Morrison. National security is my life's work. Jake left without another word. Amy was waiting in the operations center. Laptop open. Face grim. Found something, she said. The surveillance footage played on the main screen. Building 7, 11:47 p.m., 3 nights ago. Dr. Richard Keen entering the secure lab alone. He emerged 43 minutes later carrying a small black case. Where did he go? Jake asked. Amy fast-forwarded. Parking lot. His car. Drove away. What's in the case? Can't tell from the footage. But watch this. She pulled up more video. Different night. Same pattern. Keen. Late hours. Black case. 5 times in the past 2 weeks. Always late. Always alone. Always carrying that case when he leaves. Jake's phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. Asterisk. They know. Meeting compromised. Can't go home. Help me. Asterisk. Sarah Vance. Trace that number. Jake said. Amy was already typing. Burner phone. Location services disabled. But the tower ping puts it somewhere in Hawthorne. She's in town. Another text. Asterisk. Parking garage. Level 3. White Honda. Hurry. Asterisk. Jake grabbed his jacket. Get FBI on the line. Tell them we need immediate assistance at Hawthorne. Possible espionage, possible threat to classified research, and Amy locked this facility down. No one leaves without my personal authorization. Jake, if this is a trap, then I'll deal with it. Make the call. The parking garage was 2 blocks from the diner where he'd met Sarah that morning. 3 levels, mostly empty this time of day. Jake's hand rested on his Glock as he climbed the concrete stairs to level 3. A white Honda Civic sat in the far corner. Engine off. Windows tinted. Jake approached carefully, scanning for threats, his training screaming at him that this felt wrong. The driver's door was unlocked. Sarah Vance sat in the passenger seat, zip-tied to the headrest, duct tape across her mouth. Her eyes went wide when she saw him. Jake yanked open the door. Checked the back seat empty. He pulled the tape from her mouth. It's a trap, she gasped. He knew I talked to you. The car exploded. Not the whole car, a small device under the dashboard, shaped charge, designed to kill without destroying the entire vehicle. Jake's combat instinct saved him. He threw himself backward, hitting the concrete as fire and shrapnel screamed past where his head had been. His ears rang. Smoke filled the garage. Through the haze, he saw Sarah slumped against the seat, unconscious or worse. Then he heard footsteps, multiple sets, coming fast. Jake rolled behind a concrete pillar, drew his weapon. 3 men emerged from the stairwell armed, professional, moving with military precision. Not cops, not FBI, contractors. The lead man carried an MP7. The others had pistols with suppressors. They spread out, covering angles. Jake didn't hesitate. He fired twice, center mass, dropping the lead man. The other 2 scattered, returning fire. Suppressed rounds sparked off concrete. Jake moved, using the pillars for cover, years of close-quarters combat training taking over. He flanked left, acquired a target, fired. One down. The third man was smarter. He retreated to the stairwell, laying down covering fire. Jake advanced, weapon up. The man appeared at the stairwell door, aiming. Jake put 2 rounds through his chest. Silence, except for the ringing in his ears. He checked each man. Dead. No IDs, professional equipment, earpieces, tactical gear, weapons that cost more than most people's cars. Sarah. Jake ran back to the Honda. Sarah was alive, breathing, unconscious from the blast. He cut her zip ties, checked for injuries. Cuts, bruises, but nothing life-threatening. Sirens in the distance. Police. Finally responding. Jake's phone rang. Amy, FBI is 20 minutes out, she said. But Jake, you need to hear this. I pulled Keen's financial records. 3 wire transfers in the past month, totaling $250,000. Origin, shell company traced to Hong Kong. China. Has to be. And Jake Keen just left the facility. He's running. Jake commandeered Amy's Jeep, leaving Sarah with the police and EMTs who'd arrived at the garage. No time for explanations, no time for protocol. Richard Keen had a 15-minute head start. Where's he going? Jake asked, phone on speaker, as he accelerated onto Route 95. His car's GPS shows him heading north, Amy said. But Jake, there's nothing up there except desert and small airstrips. Private aviation facility. 30 miles out. Jackpot municipal. Minimal security. Jake pushed the Jeep to 90, weaving through sparse traffic. His knee throbbed from the explosion, but adrenaline masked the pain. Alert the FBI, he said. Tell them Keen is attempting to flee the country with classified intelligence. And Amy check flights out of Jackpot in the next hour. On it. Keyboard sounds. Got one. Private charter, filed flight plan for Vancouver. Departure scheduled for 1,400 hours. 20 minutes away. Jake checked the dashboard clock. 1,342. He'd make it. Barely. The desert blurred past. Mountains in the distance. Heat shimmer on the asphalt. Blue sky that went on forever. This was supposed to be the quiet job. The retirement gig. Wake up. Drink coffee. Watch monitors. Go home. But some things you couldn't retire from. Jackpot Municipal appeared on the horizon. Single runway, 2 hangars, a small terminal building. Jake saw Keen's sedan parked near the larger hangar, driver's door still open. He braked hard, gravel spraying, drew his weapon. The hangar was open. Inside, a sleek Cessna Citation, engines already running. Keen stood at the boarding stairs, black case in hand, talking to a man in a pilot's uniform. Keen! Jake shouted. The scientist turned. For a moment, their eyes met across 50 yards of concrete. Then Keen bolted up the stairs into the aircraft. The pilot pulled a pistol. Jake dove behind a fuel truck as rounds pinged off metal. He returned fire, forcing the pilot to take cover. The Cessna's engines whined louder, preparing for takeoff. Jake couldn't let that plane leave the ground. He sprinted for the aircraft, firing as he ran. The pilot went down. Jake reached the stairs just as the plane started moving, wheels rolling toward the runway. He jumped, caught the boarding rail, pulled himself up. His injured knee screamed. He ignored it. Inside the cabin, Keen fumbled with something. A phone. No, a transmitter. Detonator. Don't! Jake shouted. Too late. Keen pressed the button. Nothing happened. Keen's face went pale. The charges they should have... You mean the explosives you planted in Building 7? Jake advanced down the narrow aisle. We found them an hour ago. Bomb squads already cleared the facility. It was a bluff. They hadn't found anything. But Keen didn't know that. You're finished, Jake said. It's over. You don't understand. Keen backed toward the cockpit, still clutching the black case. This technology, it's too powerful, too dangerous. The Chinese offered me a way out, a way to ensure it never gets used. By selling it to Beijing? That's treason. That's survival. Do you know what AIRS is capable of? Autonomous killing machines that make decisions without human oversight. We're building our own obsolescence. Our own executioners. The plane was picking up speed. Still on the taxiway, but accelerating. The pilot's dead, Jake said. This plane isn't going anywhere. Keen smiled. I can fly. He lunged for the cockpit. Jake tackled him. They crashed into the narrow galley, struggled, fought. Keen was older but desperate. He clawed at Jake's face, drove a knee toward his groin. Jake twisted, used the man's momentum against him, slammed Keen's head into the bulkhead. Once, twice. The scientist went limp. The plane veered off the taxiway, heading for the desert scrub. Jake scrambled to the cockpit, found the pilot slumped in his chair, blood spreading across his chest but still breathing. Jake grabbed the controls, fought the aircraft back toward the runway, killed the throttle. The Cessna shuddered to a stop 50 yards from the terminal. Jake sat in the pilot's chair, breathing hard, knee on fire, hands shaking. Through the windscreen, he saw vehicles approaching. FBI. Finally. The debriefing took 14 hours. FBI Counterintelligence Division, Department of Defense investigators, Homeland Security. Everyone wanted to hear Jake's story, verify Sarah's evidence, understand how a respected defense contractor had been compromised by Chinese intelligence. The truth emerged slowly. Richard Keen had been recruited 18 months ago. Initial contact at an academic conference in Singapore, casual conversations about the ethics of autonomous weapons, sympathetic listeners who shared his concerns. Then the hook, an offer to fund his research into AI safety through a private foundation. The foundation was a front. The funding came from China's Ministry of State Security. By the time Keen realized the trap, he was in too deep. Financial incentives became threats. Threats became coercion. They'd cultivated him perfectly. The 3 men who'd attacked Jake in the parking garage were contractors hired through an intermediary. Professional killers with no direct ties to Chinese intelligence. Dead ends. Sarah Vance had been targeted because she'd discovered the theft. Keen had planned to kill her and frame her as the spy, buying himself time to complete the data transfer and escape. He'd almost succeeded. You did good work, the FBI special agent told Jake. Helen Rodriguez, 20-year veteran, hard eyes and a firm handshake. Keen would have been in Beijing by nightfall. ARS algorithms would be in Chinese hands. You stopped it. Dr. Vance stopped it, Jake said. I just followed through. Take the credit, Morrison. God knows you earned it. They offered him a position. FBI liaison at Hawthorne. Elevated clearance, better pay. He turned them down. Jake stood in the operations center, watching 16 monitors display every corner of Hawthorne, 0547 hours. The sun climbing over Nevada mountains. Amy set coffee on the console. Pentagon observers arrive at 1,000, she said. Air's demonstration still on schedule. Director Reed wants you present for the briefing. I hate briefings. Consider it penance for last week's excitement. Sarah Vance appeared in the doorway, cuts on her face healing, eyes clearer than before. She carried 2 boxes of pastries. Peace offering, she said, for dragging you into my paranoid conspiracy theory that turned out to be completely real. Jake smiled. Just doing my job. The FBI told me Keen was planning to kill me. Make it look like I'd stolen the data and committed suicide. She set the pastries down. You saved my life. You saved the ARES program. And probably a few thousand American lives down the line. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the monitors. Routine security checks. Normal operations. The facility humming along like nothing had happened. Can I ask you something? Sarah said. Why'd you really leave the teams? Your file says medical discharge, but you seem pretty capable to me. Jake thought about Kandahar, the ambush, his men dying while he survived, the guilt that followed him like a shadow. Got tired of war, he said finally. Wanted something quieter. How's that working out? He laughed. Still figuring it out. His phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Jake's hand moved instinctively to his weapon. But it was just spam, some marketing message. He relaxed. Maybe Rodriguez was right. Maybe this was where he belonged, not on the battlefield, but in the shadows behind it, protecting the people who built America's future from those who'd steal it. The job wasn't glamorous. It didn't come with medals or commendations. Most days, Nothing happened at all. But when something did happen, when the line between safety and catastrophe came down to one person's choices in a critical moment, that's when it mattered. Coffee's getting cold, Amy said. Jake raised his mug. To quiet days. May they bore us to tears. Amy agreed. Sarah lifted her coffee. And may the next crisis wait at least a month. They drank. Outside, the sun burned away the desert chill. Another day at Hawthorne Defense Research Facility. Another day keeping the wolves at bay. Jake Morrison checked his watch 0558 hours. Time to get to work. The congressional hearing room was packed. Senators, defense officials, military brass. Jake sat in the front row, uncomfortable in a suit and tie. On the stand, Sarah Vance explained the ARES system to the Armed Services Committee. Her voice was confident now, steady. The scared young scientist from Murphy's Diner had become a national security expert, testifying about AI ethics and autonomous weapons protocols. The committee chairman, a senator from California, leaned forward. Dr. Vance, some have argued that autonomous weapons systems represent an existential threat, that we're creating technology we can't control. How do you respond? Sarah didn't hesitate. Senator, the technology exists. If we don't develop it responsibly, our adversaries will develop it irresponsibly. The choice isn't whether to build AREs. The choice is whether to build it with proper safeguards, oversight, and human accountability. And the espionage attempt, Dr. Keene's betrayal, it demonstrated something important. Our systems worked. Our security protocols, our oversight. Our people, they identified the threat and stopped it. Not perfectly, not without risk, but effectively. That's the model we need to follow going forward. Jake smiled. She'd learned to talk like a bureaucrat. That was survival in Washington. After the hearing, they met outside the Capitol building. Tourists snapped photos. Interns rushed past with folders. The machinery of government grinding forward. You did great, Jake said. I was terrified. Didn't show. They walked down the steps together. Sarah had taken a position at the Pentagon, advising on AI security. Jake had stayed at Hawthorne. They'd kept in touch, occasional calls, emails, the odd coffee when she visited Nevada. The FBI called me last week, Sarah said. About Richard Keene. What about him? He's cooperating. Full confession. Names, dates, methods. They've rolled up a whole Chinese intelligence network. Apparently our little adventure had bigger implications than we realized. How long's he getting? 25 years. Maybe more. They reached the bottom of the steps. A taxi waited for Sarah. She had meetings all afternoon. Dinner with defense contractors tonight. You ever think about coming to DC? She asked. We could use someone like you here. Jake looked at the Capitol dome, the monuments, the city built on compromise and bureaucracy. Not my world. Where is your world? Somewhere quiet, where I can see trouble coming. Sarah smiled. Trouble seems to find you anyway. Maybe, but I like it better when I'm the one watching the monitors. They shook hands. Professional. Appropriate for the nation's capital. Sarah climbed into the taxi. Stay safe, Morrison. You too, Doc. The taxi pulled away. Jake stood on the sidewalk, watching it disappear into DC traffic. Then he pulled out his phone, checked flights back to Nevada. Hawthorne was calling. The facility needed him. Amy needed backup. The next crisis was always waiting. He was ready.